一通りやって調べてみて面白そうだったやつを紹介してみたいと思います。やあやあ、こんにちは、こんばんは、ねこだよ。今日はスタンリーパラブルをやっていきたいと思います。ぜひ最後までご覧ください。どうぞー。最速エンドをやりたいと思います。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh. いけない。別の面白そうなエンディングをやりたいと思います。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, then he imagined himself soaring through space on magical stuff. It was so much fun. And Stanley marveled at the place. How must he remain so busy? And then what happened? And my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? Everything went black.
Oh.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned around.
スタンリーは狂った。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Whoa.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function, which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. Yes. You too will become quite unbearable. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
お、なんか開いた。うお。うえ。
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, it reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
そしてすぐに彼を殺しました。うえ。新しいナレーターさん。Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
スタンリーは最初から死んでた。スタンリーズコンピューター。オフィシャルレイアウト。これスタンリーの部屋か。コリドー。ボタン、サウンド。全部消しちゃった。メンテナンスルーム。オフィスクロック。ボスの部屋。なんもな。見れるの部屋はエンプロイーラウンジ。メインコントロール。アンダーグラウンド。ナレーションアウト。 カウントダウンディスク。フリーダムエンディング。カウントダウンルーム。427。入れない。427。あれ、いろんなバージョンだ。最初はこれかな。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
二人とも猫とスタンリーか。違う。猫とナレーターさんか。スタンリーパラブル。
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
オフ。そこでエスケープ押すわけないでしょう。気になるじゃん。あれ、終わり？部屋変わった。部屋変わったんだけど。ちょっと行ってみます。レイアウト変わったね。ちょっと気になったエンディングを試してみました。今回でスタンリーパラブルは完結とさせていただきたいと思います。いろいろ気になるエンディングがまだたくさんあるんですけど、動画にするのはこれが最後ということで。最後までご視聴ありがとうございました。また明日の動画でお会いしましょう。またねー。